Hello everybody, welcome back to American Textbook Reading. I'm Brian Stewart. We're going over Unit 6, Choosing Community Leaders. So when we're talking about being good citizens, remember we have to choose our community leaders. So in this unit you will discover the process of choosing community leaders. The process means how do we do it, right? We can see a little diagram here. Somebody's voting, right? They put in many choices. We'll talk about that in this unit. But this is the process, how people choose their leaders. And of course, this is particular for American society, American textbook reading, but we're going to take a look mostly at how Americans choose their leaders. Let's take a look here. First of all, what is a leader? Right? If we're talking about how to choose a leader, well, first of all, we need to talk about what a leader is. A leader is a person, right? Leader is a person who is in charge of. In charge of. You are in charge of means you are responsible for. You are in charge of a group. The person who is in charge of a group, they're responsible for that group. They lead that group. They tell the group what to do. If the group has a problem, they take responsibility. They are the ones who take the responsibility or the blame if something goes wrong. They are the leaders. Let's take a look. Here we have a picture of a leader. This is a politician. The politician is basically supporting or getting to know his voters. His voters are coming out and he's signing things for them. So they want to meet him. They want to meet their leader. And of course, this is very typical in America. These people want to meet the leader. They want him to sign something so they can remember that person or the experience of having met their leader. So basically, this would be an example of a politician or a political leader in America. Now, remember, I just used that word politician. Politician. A politician is a leader in politics, right? A community leader, politician. And this is an example of a politician. Now, another type of politician is a mayor. A mayor is the leader of a city or town. Of course, in politics, you have many different types of leaders. You have different areas, right? And small areas and big areas. Depending on the area, that depends on what exactly we call the leader. There are different words for the leaders depending on how big of an area or what type of area or region that person is a leader for. If we're talking about a city or a town, a small city, or it could be a large city, but a city is smaller, of course, than other regions. A city or town, we call that person a mayor. Okay, this is the mayor of Los Angeles, right? He's the mayor of Los Angeles. So each city has a leader. They are called the mayors, the mayor. Okay, when you choose for the leader in politics in a democratic country, of course, what are you doing? You are voting. To vote. To vote as a verb means to make a choice. So, of course, in a democratic country, you have many different choices. Many people want to be the leader. Sometimes, usually there's two, at least two, but sometimes you can have 3, 4, 5. You could have a whole group of people who are trying to get the same leadership position. And we, as citizens, have to choose between them. We have to vote. So vote, by the way, is a verb, but vote can also be a noun, right? What was the vote? What was the final vote? You could say that. What was the final vote? That means what was the final count, right? What was the final vote? Who got the most votes? Or you can also use it in that way. I got a vote. I cast my vote for somebody. You could also use it in that way. Cast your vote, which is basically the same as this, vote. When you vote, you cast your vote. Each person has one vote. You cast your vote, that means you vote. You record your decision, to put it in a box, this is a simple way, and then afterwards they take all the votes out of the box and they figure out who won. So vote can be a verb, This is what this girl is doing. Vote can also be a noun. It's what she's putting in the box. This is a vote. Okay, her vote. What was your vote? Okay. Now we have an election. When people vote, they have an election. You vote in an election. When election is choosing a leader or leaders by a vote, right? By a vote. So when everybody gets together and they cast their votes, right? They put their votes in, then that is choosing a leader that we call an election. Now, of course, this is a representation of the American election in 2008. This is President Obama and this is Senator John McCain, and they were the two contenders for the election. Contenders or opponents. Contenders. Contenders are people who try to win the vote. He was a contender. He was a contender. Contenders are people who struggle or fight against each other in order to win something. Contenders aren't just people, politicians, but contenders can also be boxers or sports players, people who try to win something. These guys wanted to win the election. They are contenders. And the election, of course, is choosing a leader or leaders by a vote. So contenders will have an election and you will choose one of those people, and that will be the person who is elected to office. Okay. Count. Of course, when you're voting and you're putting many votes in a box, right? Afterwards, you have to count those votes. Count, to say numbers one by one and to know how many there are. So, of course, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I am counting. I'm saying the numbers one by one. And also, after I'm finished, right? I'm picking the votes 1, 2, 3, 4. After I'm finished, I know what the count is. I know how many there are. There are 50 votes for contender A, and there's 40 votes for contender B. Okay? So that's what we do when we count the votes. We find out who won the election. Who won the election? Let's count the votes. Okay. An adult. What is an adult? An adult is a person who is fully grown. Why are we worried about adults when we're talking about election? Because only adults can vote in election. I'm sorry, you're too young to vote in your country's elections. But when you get older, when you become an adult, then it's your right, it's also your responsibility to vote in the election. You should vote in election. That's what makes a good citizen, right? You should vote in an election. Okay, but adults will vote in elections. Now, ballot. Ballot is another word, by the way, for vote. Remember I taught you guys that vote is a noun. You put your vote, you cast your vote. We can also say you cast your ballot. It's another word that means the same thing. Cast your ballot. Cast a ballot, cast your vote. But a ballot here, you can see that a ballot has many names on them. That's very interesting, right? We can see many different names here. And a ballot is just basically a piece of paper on which you mark your vote. Again, vote here is used as a noun. Your vote, right? Your choice. Okay, so here we can see this is a ballot, looks like for the 2008 presidential election. Did you know that there are actually more than just two people who ran for the president in America? We really only concentrate on the two most famous people who are running for election, Barack Obama and John McCain. Those are the two most famous people in the 2008 election. But did you know there were actually other people running for the president? There was Ralph Nader, Bob Barr, I never heard of him, Cynthia McKinley, I never heard of that person, and Alan Keyes, never heard of him. These two, usually only two people get the most attention because they are from the major parties, the major political parties. But there are other political parties in America. Maybe some people don't know about them because they're not famous. They don't get a lot of attention. But the two main parties, they get all the attention. People know about them. Barack Obama and John McCain were for the 2008 presidential election. But I've heard of Ralph Nader before, but I haven't heard of these three people before. But they're also on the ballot in the 2008. They're less known candidates. Okay.